Oh my god, hi, hello. We are going to be talking about that. We are going to land it. Other stuff is happening, very exciting stuff. I can't say the very exciting stuff, but something exciting is happening. Send this. What's for Peter Hitchens still not an interview with Alex O'Connor? That sounds fun. So,
you didn't have any idea what I think.
So, here it is.
Decriminalisation campaigns go hand in hand with something like a re-education campaign.
I've had this actually. I think if this is going to be about drug decriminalisation, I'm bored. If you want drug decriminalisation, good luck. I enjoy the society you get as a result, but frankly, I'm sick of the subject, and I'm also sick to death of the people who promote it.
So yeah. Will you be alright?
You're entitled to use that, by the way, if you read it as you want. But I think you've had me here on false pretenses.
What?
If you run this interview, I shall say you've had me here on false.
I'm sorry. Which false pretenses?
Well, this is going to be an interview about several subjects. It's about nothing but drugs.
Yeah, I mean,
Nothing. You're obsessed with drugs.
This is the first topic of many.
You're obsessed with drugs.
I had planned to. I have read your book.
Well, you're obviously reading it with your lights on. You're not aware of anything that I've said.
I have a number.
You haven't read what I've written about Portugal, which is easily found.
I've read that too.
Well, again, you show no signs of innocence.
I had.
You haven't put anything into that said it. It's now. I've been here for an hour, and we've discussed nothing but drugs.
I had planned to move on to other subjects. I'm sorry.
I don't think you're entitled to run this.
I was.
If you do run it, I shall say I don't think that you've got me here for questions.
I was just interested in your views.
I frankly think it's extremely bad manners. Extremely bad manners, very bad breath.
We spoke beforehand. I said I wanted to talk about drugs and God.
You did say I want to spend an hour discussing drugs, including half an hour discussing Portugal.
I'm sorry if that was too long. I really
Not
had.
too long. This interview was supposed to be an hour. We practically finished that hour. We have not moved from the subject of drugs.
I really had planned to move on. The thing that I'm disputing is that there were any false pretenses here. I asked if.
Okay, so where does it say in your communications with me, I want to interview you for an hour about drugs?
Just before the interview, I said I want to talk about drugs. I want to talk about God. I want to talk about the monarchy.
I came here.
You said that's fine, but the monarchy is boring.
You didn't say we're going to have an hour's discussion about drugs, including half the thing on Portugal. If you had done so, then A, I would have said no, and B, I would have been better briefed with specific questions. I thought it was a general interview on a number of subjects. I think you have acted on false pretenses. I think you have been dishonest with me, and I think you've behaved extremely badly.
I had planned to talk to you about drugs and God.
As widely as I possibly can. I think you've behaved disgracefully. What's in this for me? Why should I bother to come here? I've come across that bicycle across London in the heat to spend time being interviewed by you. And you've abused my goodwill, you've abused my hospitality.
I thought we talked about.
I don't want to see you again.
I thought we talked about drugs and we talked about God.
Sorry, you're not. talked about nothing but drugs.
It was the first
We talked
subject.
about nothing but drugs. We've been here for almost a full hour, which we said we were going to have. You talked about nothing but drugs.
It was the first subject that came up, and we were just going back and
So
forth.
it came up.
I had following. Yeah, I brought it up. I
We didn't
had
come up.
follow-up questions to
It
ask.
didn't come drifting out of the sea. You chose it.
I had follow-up questions to ask you. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that went on for too long.
Your chosen subject
I-
for an hour.
I don't believe.
For an
I
hour.
don't believe this was a
For an
false
hour.
pretense. I really
Nothing
can't.
else. Not a syllable about anything else.
I can't accept that this is under false
And
pretense.
also, round in circles too. You don't listen to my answers.
Look,
I tell them you're such an incompetent interviewer. You don't listen to my answers, so you have to ask everything over and over again.
I
Rude, incompetent, and extremely dishonest.
Well,
Run it if you like.
I suppose there's nothing more I can say here. Run it if I like.
Well, sure, right, if you like. I can't stop you.
I think people would be interested to see your views.
Morally, I don't think you're entitled to run a word.
I think people would be interested to
Morally,
hear
you're
your
not
views.
entitled to run a word of it. You just aren't. You brought me here on false pretenses. You treated me with extreme bad manners, and you've done nothing but ask me about drugs. You didn't tell me you wanted to interview about drugs. You just did this. I don't. This is because you got the better of me.
I agree.
You know almost nothing about.
I
the subject.
really, I don't
You know
think that's
almost
the case at all.
nothing about the subject of drugs, and you understand less. But I do think that you brought me. I do think you brought me here on false pretenses, and have been extremely ill-mannered.
Look, I would be
I
happy.
don't want this.
I would be interested to see if people share your opinion that that's how I behave.
People know my opinion.
No, if people share your opinion that that's how I behave today. I think if I run this interview, people will not get that.
It is my opinion, and it's the opinion of basic medicine to get up with you.
I think if this goes out, people will not think that that's how I treated you.
Well, because you have the power to edit it.
No, I don't edit these things. I don't edit anything out. Nothing goes out. Every single word gets included. Everything.
Okay. I still think it's
So I
still
can
think it's an ill-mannered, dishonest, false pretenses.
so I can post this interview word for word.
You're here on false pretenses, and I think you should be ashamed.
So I can post this interview word for word, and you think people
I
will.
think you're here on false pretenses. I think you should be ashamed of yourself, ashamed enough not to run it.
I'm sorry. I just don't agree. I just don't agree that there were any false pretenses.
I know you don't. Does
I
that make it better? You're not even aware of what you've done.
I'm bemused by this. Honestly,
I don't doubt it.
so many episodes. We
Don't doubt it.
we talk. We go back and forth. If there are follow-up questions, there are follow-up questions.
Don't doubt that you're.
How long would have been too long to talk about drugs? Like if we'd have moved on half an hour earlier to talk about
Personally, 1 minute was too long to talk about drugs.
So why do
But
you?
you raised it, so I
Before this
managed
interview,
to
I
talk.
asked.
It went on and on and on and round and round and round. You didn't have any idea what I think. You haven't read what I've written, or if you have, you haven't taken it in or understood it.
Before this interview, I asked you if we could talk about drugs. You said yes. You didn't.
Well, I can talk about drugs. I didn't agree to an entire interview about drugs. I think it's a very good example of my powerful self-restraint that I haven't actually sworn. Anyway, if you've got any sense or manners, don't run that.
Ms. H, I want to run this just.
You're not entitled to run it. You have no moral entitlement to run it. You brought me here on false pretenses and you behave very badly.
Just
And if you do, I should say so.
just in order that I can, that if that's the case, that if I have mistreated you, that I can hear that from someone other than just yourself, because I just.
No, it's my opinion that matters on that.
I don't know what
But you persisted with asking me to come. I never made any trouble about coming. I changed my day to come today. I agreed to come. I came on time. I was here when requested. And then I was abused. My good nature was abused. I don't like that.
I suppose there's nothing. I suppose there's nothing more I can say, but I must say that this like I have to run this. I have to. have to run this because like people know that I've spoken to you. They'll want the interview, and they'll.
Okay, well, I'll start tweeting now with the trip out of guns from Roseville.
No, I don't. You don't.
Carry on tweeting it, and I'll go through this outrage, Bill manners, and bad faith that you're running it at all. I was tricked by this Wales person.
Tricked by somebody else.
Yeah, I had someone else try to trick me. Pretending they were just
I really genuinely.
very unhappy that
Want-
way at least didn't have the nerve to run it.
Indeed, I would happily talk to you now about any other subject and not run the drugs part. Just the rest of it. Just to prove to you that I'm really not here to trick you into a conversation about drugs.
That's so much content about everything else. It's just
I can talk to you about.
always go like this. Get on the topic, get rolling.
Genuinely, I was just interested in following it up. I really didn't mean to make this some sudden. Suddenly, we're just going to talk about drugs the whole day.
Do you know what it is? Do you know what it is? I am so frigging bored of arguing about drugs with morons who want to legalize them.
Well, I'm sorry if it's boring, but that
It
doesn't
is
make
so boring.
that doesn't mean I'm
It's so boring. I've wasted years of my life on it.
that doesn't mean I'm acting out of malice here.
No, but if you knew anything about me, you'd know how sick I was of talking about it.
Look,
I couldn't even be bothered to read properly what I've written about it. You claim to have read it. I have to take it as true.
I only wish you'd
If you
told
say
me before the
you read
interview.
it, you weren't paying attention. You didn't understand it.
I only wish you'd have mentioned this before the interview when I asked if we could talk about drugs.
Well, I talk about drugs to people, and I didn't say I would come across London for an interview entirely about drugs.
It wasn't supposed to be. It just look. I have other topics that we were about to move on to.
But we weren't.
I mean that genuinely.
You barely could Ghana. I mean Portugal. No, but
I can prove it.
What? But you didn't get there, did you?
Because
You chose to open with this, and then you finished with that. So what are you offering me?
What I'm offering you is firstly an explanation as to.
I don't want an explanation.
Secondly, what I'm offering you is, for example, if you want me to prove to you that I'm not interested in tricking you into a conversation about drugs, if you wanted to sit down and talk about the other subject, for instance, God, that was next on our list, and we talked about that instead, just to prove to you that I'm not interested in just talking about drugs to you. That's not what I'm trying to do here. And I mean that.
But what happens to this dribble with the question?
People know that I'm talking to you. They'll want to see a conversation with you, and they'll expect me to talk to you about drugs. I can explain to them that we did and that you didn't.
I can talk about it, but I can't talk about it for an hour with you going round and round in circles, not listening to my answers.
Look, you seem that the reason that you seem angry at me
I don't like you.
is because, okay.
It's the reason I really don't like you.
That's
I
fine.
really have decided in the past now I really do not like you at all.
That's fine.
I had no opinions on you before. Now I actively dislike you.
That seems to be based on
On the fact that you're a propagandist for drug legalization, yes.
the fact that I'm somehow tricking you into.
No, you're a propagandist for drug legalization, and I regard such a person. I will sometimes, and occasions, I will be in the same room with them because it's necessary for debate, but I do not choose their company.
I'm genuinely.
I won't tell you the other occupations with which I equate them, with whom I also don't wish to spend time, but I don't like you.
Look, this isn't. I've spoken about drugs publicly twice.
Yeah, I don't care what you've done publicly. On this occasion, you've made it clear to me that you are a very strong opponent of drug legalization, and that has been the purpose of your interview.
My job as an interviewer is to challenge my guests regardless
I
of
don't care. I don't like being challenged.
if I were talking to if I had David Nutt on the podcast, who I was supposed to for a long time, my
Have you ever seen this trick? How about this one? Or maybe you've seen this one. What about all of these tricks at the same time? Now, if you've never seen these tricks, it's because you've never watched JJ 902. Some of you may recognize the name JJ902 from the famous choke at GDQ 2011. You know, the incident where that runner said he could only play on his own cartridge? Now, it wasn't that unusual for a player to feel superstitious about their gear, just like Kevin Garnett in the movie Uncut Gems, who feels superstitious about a black opal because it brings him luck. But to this extent, why was the best player in the world failing trick after trick after trick?
I'm just not feeling good today. I don't know.
This is the incident that spurred a community-wide investigation. It led to the creation of the Speedrun Fair Play Committee, and would ultimately uncover one of the deepest yet subtle advantages that a player could use to become number one. But first, we got to go back to even understand why he was invited to GDQ to begin with. It all began in 2009 when JJ902 gets home from school one day and starts his very first Super Mario 64 stream on Justin TV.
He looks so funny.
He wanted to try his hands at 100%ing the game, something he had never done when he was younger.
I've actually never done this before, not even when I was younger.
Someone in his chat recognized that he seemed like a natural at the game and told him about speedrunning. This unlocked a brand new world for JJ. One of his favorite games growing up had led him into a rabbit hole where people just like him would spend months mastering the game. A kind, welcoming community that would happily teach new players everything they needed to know. Now, his first speedrun was just okay. He didn't exactly seem confident moving the character, but he still managed to pull off a couple of neat tricks.
I got it. I got the trick.
Now, interestingly enough, at one point, he spent a little bit of time near the pillar at JRB, what the community would later refer to as a frame walk. But because he didn't successfully pull off the trick, everyone just assumed it was some kind of error and didn't really think much of it. As the years would progress, he would begin to tighten up his general movement, improve his consistency, and actually himself become a mentor for new people in the community looking to learn new tricks. Kind of a beautiful relationship. Everyone welcomed him with open arms, continued to grind and practice until he was one of the players that could teach everyone else. And when it came to JJ902 and his new discoveries, there were many. One of his signature moves would later be called the JJ Triple, a trick in Tall Tall Mountain, which quickly gathered interest amongst the top players at the time. How do you think he explained this trick? I'm not joking. He said you would want to hold the degrees x125, y-45 on your joystick, and that if you were holding that position, it would work automatically, proving that he looked at the game entirely different. This wasn't advice that other players could really wrap their head around. He was just that good. And of course, there's the JJ slide kick, which he would use at the beginning of many stages for a unique acceleration that most people couldn't replicate. In fact, most people to this day still use long jump. And he'd even smooth out that frame walk trick to skip the cannon in Jolly Roger Bay, which, thinking back, it's crazy that he attempted this in his first run ever. People just kind of got used to the feeling of not being able to do what he was doing in his game. He would go well out of his way to try and train people and teach them and create tutorials.
So I got a message about the JJ Triple, and I guess people are calling it that now.
But no matter how many people in the community would give it a go, it seemed to be that a lot of these tricks were just JJ902 exclusives. Which you might be thinking, that's pretty suspicious, except he was making revelation after revelation as well. He was teaching the community tricks they had never seen before, so it was pretty hard to scrutinize the ones that otherwise seemed impossible. Okay, so let's get into some of these impossible tricks. The Tall Tall Mountain Upwarp, a freak occurrence that immediately let him skip the beginning of the stage. This one actually garnered a lot of media attention, with one of the leading theories being that someone in his house must have turned on a microwave as soon as the stage loaded. There was the Clip and Peach's slide, which he said wasn't worth it after demonstrating just how powerful it was. And that one time he claimed to be able to skip the intro of the game, and that he would only bust it out one day when he was ready. While most of these impossible tricks kind of flew under the radar, his claim to be able to beat the game without the second key was just a little bit too much. And after going viral among several speedrunning communities, being showcased in a popular YouTuber's video,
Now, take a page
He was offered an all-expenses-paid vacation experience to go to GDQ in 2011 and ensure his title as one of the greatest runners in the world. However, despite such a life-changing opportunity, he declined. It was already unusual for GDQ to offer such a generous opportunity, but after his refusal to showcase the trick live, they even offered him money. Combined with pressure from his friends, the community, and even his parents, he could not say no. He would be going to sunny Wisconsin to speedrun Super Mario 64, no key, any percent. Creating the guarantee that as long as he finished the run, it would be a world record, a world first, and the excitement could not be more palpable. Fast forward a couple of months, and JJ902 is scheduled to run at the absolute primetime slot, Thursday at 6 p.m. This was especially important because GDQ would no longer need to share the room with the Wisconsin EDM Festival, giving JJ902 the focus he would need during his run. Now, to everyone at home, things seemed perfectly fine. But word was getting around the venue that JJ was acting a bit unusual. People were saying that in the hotel room he would play with extreme confidence and skill at one time, but then seemed like he was a complete noob at others. Don't get me wrong, though. He was perfectly adequate at the majority of the game. There's no questioning that this player was good, but he wasn't going for any of the tricks that made him stand out from the rest of the crowd. He'd go from being the life of the party in his room to almost seeming afraid at the venue to really play the game at all. Now, what I'm about to tell you has never been officially confirmed, but the story as we know it is that 3 to 4 hours before his run, JJ requested if he could swap the cartridge for the one that he used as a kid. He told the staff member a story about how it would mean the world to him and that he would frame the cartridge afterwards on the wall. Really sold him a sob story. The reason this is important is because up to this time, JJ902 never told anyone at the venue that due to his pay arrangement with GDQ and the overlap with Guinness World Records, JJ902 was only allowed to play with a championship edition of Mario 64, which is one of the rarer ones provided by Guinness. This was unusual, as the majority of people who come to participate in these marathons bring their own controllers, games, you name it, just like Kevin Garnett in the movie Uncut Gems, who feels superstitious about a black opal because it brings him luck. But this one had to be by the book. Nonetheless, supposedly he was able to convince GDQ staff to make a swap of the cartridge, played it off as a harmless and sentimental thing, and was primed to begin his run using an unofficial copy of the game. Almost immediately, everyone noticed that JJ seemed more comfortable and relaxed. He was easier to approach, easier to engage with, and carried himself in a way that inspired others. His closest friends and fellow runners would gather around the couch to watch history in the making. JJ begins his run, mashes the start button, skips to the intro, and you see his demeanor change entirely. He looks like he's seen a ghost, but shakes it off and starts talking about the trick he discovered.
First time we'll ever see this run. You don't even need to kill Bowser.
The intro ends, he goes through the text, and he nails the bridge text skip. You see, there's normally a Lakitu on the bridge that talks to Mario and gives him a bit of an introduction to the game. By landing on the very edge of the bridge, JJ902 was able to completely skip the important message that was waiting for him, and with everything else out of the way, he begins going for the key 2 skip. Now, this is where things get interesting. You see, this is actually a trick that no one has seen live, partly due to its complexity, but also because JJ enjoyed his position as the only one who knew the secrets of the game. But luckily, we had seen it in his concept runs. While the channel no longer exists, it can still be seen on the Wayback Machine called Uncommentated JJ. He would often upload unbelievable concepts and explain how they worked through text. It wouldn't be that uncommon for people to see these videos, try it out, and then give up after a while because they weren't quite able to handle the precision JJ had. But this trick was different. On his YouTube channel, all we saw was the end result a few months ago, so the excitement from the crowd was palpable. The video didn't explain anything, but showed him going from the lobby door, walking over to Toad, and storing both an angle and interaction value. For For those of you familiar with Ocarina of Time speedruns, you'll have seen something similar in the SRM glitch, whereby standing in front of a chest you can store Link's interact value, and then keeping that value so that you can activate the stored data at a later point in the game, which he then begins to do. He looks and sounds nervous as he mutters through his explanation. It's almost as if he's bipolar.
I don't know what it is. I just go from manic to depressed on a dime.
And then he approaches a door which he claims is meant to open. It doesn't open at all. Now, do you remember when I said it seemed like he saw a ghost? The ghost he saw was the Championship Edition of Super Mario 64, provided by Guinness, sitting atop his Nintendo 64. Whatever trick he may have had up his sleeve seemed to no longer be on the table, and yet his attitude seemed more confident. Don't get me wrong, because at first he seemed very shocked and surprised, but then he smiles and nods his head and says, yeah, I don't know why that happens sometimes, and then something kind of magical happens. We see him growing more confident, speaking more loudly, going more and more into detail. Those who had their doubts originally actually started to believe. He's telling stories about how he found the trick, and everyone is absolutely enthralled. He's the life of the party. Except on the TV screen, he fails the trick again, and again, and again. His ability to work a crowd was nothing short of magical. Each failed attempt would be met with applause and excitement because everyone was sure more and more that the next attempt was going to be the successful one. Everyone was stoked. But wait, GDQ staff wasn't happy, Twitch staff wasn't happy, and you better believe Guinness staff wasn't happy either. You see, we're 20 minutes into a 10-minute estimate speedrun, and nothing has happened. And while the vibes may have been good, something entirely different was brewing online. Controversy and disbelief amongst the Mario 64 community was full speed ahead. Skype groups were all posting memes and screen recording of JJ failing, pointing out things that he said that weren't accurate, and people on Twitter and Reddit were going crazy. They were asking, yo, what the f*** is wrong with JJ? And why does he keep saying, let that sink in?
Let that sink in. Let that sink in. Let that sink in.
But it wasn't just the viewers of the community. You see, many prominent members of the community were straight up declaring their skepticism with no delay. But it would be quite some time before JJ902 realized any of this was going on, and that there was a team back home assembling to dissect all of his videos, live streams, and claims. Now let's get back to the GDQ run. Despite failing to do the key 2 skip over and over again, he remains confident. He seems relaxed, he's cracking jokes, and everyone is having a great time. Minute 25 strikes, and you hear from the announcer's desk.
Hey guys, it looks like we might have to cut this one short.
The developer of Mojang was scheduled to participate in the Minecraft beta speedrun commentary.
You think he never saw Minecraft?
No, absolutely not.
But JJ says, wait, give me just one more try. I swear this is it.
I can do it. You just gotta let me try.
And surprisingly enough, the staff allows him one final try.
Yay!
He stores his angle at the toad. He sets his interaction flag, and he begins moving his way back to the door. Everyone is on the edge of their seats. And then Mario began to slide out of his angle and instead interact with the door as if it were the Toad dialogue. JJ902 quickly cleared the dialogue, overlapping the 2 interactions, and Mario walked right on in. Everyone went crazy. For the first time ever, during a live event, JJ902 was able to... Nah, I'm just kidding. See, that's what was supposed to happen, as shown in this video he uploaded. What really happened was another failed attempt, and they begin wrapping up. You see, from the perspective of JJ902, everything has gone perfectly fine. Maybe he didn't get the trick he wanted to, and maybe he didn't set the Guinness World Record. But to him, this is about as good as everything could go. Back home, the community was abuzz. If you tuned into any Mario 64 live stream, you'd see clear as day both people defending JJ902, saying that he was just nervous, unable to perform in front of a crowd, and many other people relentlessly dragging him, and saying this was complete proof that he had been living a lie. But deeper than that, 4 of the most technical minds came together to create a task force dedicated to dissecting the JJ902 archive. This team consisted of Dream Killer 5, Jace the Wallet Face, Dildo 2012, and High on Sin 24/7. While they didn't create this task force for notoriety, they would later largely be known as the Bully Hunters. They kept their efforts a secret as the weeks would go by, and during this time, JJ902 was mostly inactive. You see, he would still occasionally play the game and run a live stream of attempts, but it became pretty clear just how much people coming in and asking him what went wrong that day would really bother him. In fact, it bothered him so much that on November 19th, 2011, he uploaded a video titled, "I'm Taking a Break," in which he talked about what went wrong that day and admitted to everyone that he intentionally didn't do the trick at GDQ because it would, quote, ruin the hobby of speedrunning forever.
Sorry, my dog's barking. This would literally ruin my speedrunning hobby forever.
Seriously? Ruin the hobby of speedrunning forever? He was ridiculed for saying this, and it upset almost everyone. There were large groups of people who didn't care about the run and just wanted to see JJ doing what he did best. There were people who believed that the trick never existed and would celebrate him leaving the scene. But you know who this upset the most? The Bully Hunters. After several months of working in the background, they would announce their beliefs that JJ902 was a fraud, that many of the tricks published were strictly impossible, and declared that for these tricks to have ever been possible, he'd have to have been playing on a modified version of the game. Which, keep in mind, almost nobody but Guinness and GDQ staff were aware that he was required to use a championship copy of Mario 64. The biggest piece of data that they would point to came from a manual manipulation of memory in TikTok clock. By changing a single value, Mario's position would cause him to teleport all the way to the top of the stage. This is very easy to replicate with a modified version of the game, but JJ902 had a video of him doing this and explained it as a particle leak, and said it was only inconsistent because Mario's degree had to be exactly between 85 and 87. This was known as angle 86, a degree that overlapped with a rounding discrepancy which often confused the game's directional instructions, putting Mario in a random location. Even JJ902 wasn't sure why it didn't work sometimes, just that he knew why it did work sometimes. Sounds plausible, right? Well, even as I sit here typing it, it sounds real to me. The High on Sin 24/7 insisted that this was the result of a manipulated code variable. In his video titled Proof JJ902 Fakes His Footage, which by the way amassed over 1.1 million views in less than a week before being taken down from a DMCA request on the basis that it contained no factual evidence and was only meant to assassinate my character, and when High on Sin 24/7 accidentally stumbled upon the exact value to change to have the exact result JJ902 had, people started looking at things a bit differently. High on Sin demonstrated this discrepancy and even said, if anyone can prove me wrong, anyone at all, I'll pay them $1,000. This unfortunately never happened. But you can still find old videos from many years ago of people trying. Trying to replicate this glitch and failing. Now, what was JJ's response to all of this? Nothing. In 2011, gaming news and scandals like this were rare, but this was big enough to land and be published by Kotaku, pushing the controversy to the larger online communities. Because of the Bully Hunters gaining so much attention, this pointed out a noticeable gap in the way the speedrun communities validated claims, which would then lead to the creation of the Speedrun Fair Play Committee. The Speedrun Fair Play Committee was founded by some guy named Felix Schellberg, and they consisted of technical experts who could analyze claims submitted to them from various gaming communities. These technical experts consisted of, never mind, they're anonymous experts. And while they stated in their policies that it's not a story until we've heard both sides, JJ's silence was starting to echo certainty amongst the doubters. And it would seem like the story concludes there, with no one ever getting an answer, and a general consensus that he was a guy highly skilled at the game who couldn't resist lying and cheating for fame. But what if he was never cheating? One day, small Twitch streamer Funny Roblox 234 is streaming Super Mario 64. This guy was not a speedrunner. He wasn't doing any speedrun tricks, and he didn't have 0 stars. He had 11 of them. Now watch. He stores his angle at the Toad accidentally, just by talking to him. He unintentionally stores an interaction value, and then he literally spams buttons, backflips across the lobby while reading chat, all before pressing A to jump away from the door, and this happens. What? Mario slides out of his angle, front of the door and interacts with the door as if it was the Toad's dialogue. He then enters the upstairs area. And Bunny Roblox doesn't even realize he just created history. In fact, if not for one of the viewers clipping this and posting it online asking, has anyone ever seen this before? WTF is going on? Maybe we never even would have known about this. Clip goes semi-viral and the race is on. The tools available for studying the game are much better than they were in 2011, and the smartest minds from the community were on the case. And they would definitely uncover the truth behind these deeper game mechanics. Except for the first time in nearly 13 years, JJ902 has uploaded a video. The title of the video, Behold L Glitch. JJ902 starts the video greeting everyone, wishing them well, and apologizing for speaking up sooner. He explains that he saw the video making the rounds of Bunny Roblox entering the door and decided now was the time to tell the truth. In 2011, while experimenting and manipulating game code, he realized that only a single flag determined whether or not the door could be opened, and that it was likely a manipulatable variable. He admits that he didn't fail to do the trick on purpose at GDQ, but rather that they had him playing on a Championship Edition cartridge. This made sense to almost everyone, as many glitches in the game do not work on the later versions. So why didn't JJ902 want to admit this back in the day? He then goes on to explain that while he
Why does it probably put it up to like a copy? Is it like what? Right. Sure.
It perhaps spread as mimetically as an epidemic of copying, and that's known to have happened with the blue tits and great tits in Britain. Now, certain individuals are likely to learn it faster than others, and there may be genetic variation in the speed in which they learn it. And as the generations go by, natural selection would have favored speed of learning the new trick. And eventually they would have learned the new trick so fast they didn't need to learn it at all.
Right.
It becomes genetically assimilated into the genome. That's the Baldwin effect.
Okay, that I would say that's essentially the same pattern of archetype evolution that's implicit in the Jungian theoretical
Well, that's
model.
very interesting because that suggests that Jungian archetypes might be genetically assimilated via the Baldwin effect.
Yes,
So that's
yes.
a fascinating idea.
Yes. Okay, so now
I know we're coming to the end of our time soon anyway. It's nice to end on a shared point of interest, which is the Baldwin effect and the archetype's potential origin and the Baldwin effect. Do you think that is something that is worth exploring further? Is that something that we can
it's crucial.
that we can
I
test?
think it's
because
interesting. Yes.
Well, it speaks of the potential relationship between the spread of memes and the alteration of the genetic process. I would say it probably happens fastest by sexual selection. So
Yes.
right. So imagine that a meme. Okay. So imagine a meme develops a representation, imaginable, and the people who embody it are more effective in dealing with predators. And then imagine that there's a concordance between that and the attractiveness of those males to women. Seems highly probable. Well, then you can see that because sexual selection is pretty rapid.
Lovely.
Mechanism that Baldwin effect gets
I totally agree
very
with that.
rapidly.
I've even suggested, actually, a slightly way out suggestion, that the human habit of standing on our hind legs might have been sexually selected and then genetically assimilated by the Baldwin effect. Chimpanzees do sometimes walk on their hind legs. Now, if for mimetic reasons that was sexually attractive in our ancestors, so that it spread as an epidemic of sexual display, then natural selection could have favored those individuals who were best at standing on their hind legs, genetically speaking, and then it would become genetically assimilated. This sexually selected mimetic effect could have been genetically assimilated and given rise to the genetic tendency to walk on our hind legs.
So I remember what I was going to ask you about this. So imagine you have a situation in the biblical narratives where the idea of sacrifice is dramatized and ritualized. So it's acted out. It's not exactly understood. It's dramatized and acted out. Well, I believe there's a concordance between the probability that sacrifice would be offered and the ability of someone to forego gratification or to work towards a future end. They're the same thing. And the ability to forego gratification, which is associated with cortical development, is a great predictor of future success. Let's say future, because we know, for example, that trait conscientiousness, which is something like the ability to delay gratification, is the best predictor that isn't cognitive of long-term future success. The ability to sacrifice the present for the future is a hallmark of a strategy of adaptation that's going to propagate down the generation.
That's interesting. As a Canadian, you probably know about the potlatch phenomenon.
Yes.
Where great sacrifice is a social display, destruction of one's own property which is a form of sacrifice. Destruction of one's own property is a mark of prestige.
Well, it indicates, as they know those communities, it indicates two things. Your willingness to distribute generously to the community, because you're a big man if you can do that, but also your faith in the process by which that wealth was generated. I'm so good at, I think women use wealth as a marker of sexual attractiveness, not because they're interested in wealth, but because wealth is the best single predictor of the ability to generate wealth. And the potlatch is that kind of manifestation. It's like, yes, I have all this stuff. I can give it away and burn it, and I can make it again. Because it isn't the wealth. It's the capacity to generate the wealth, right? It's a process or a spirit, you could say, if you wanted to get metaphorical about it. So there's this remarkable concordance between your work and these works that I've been investigating. Like I said, no one knows the two literatures. And so it's very frustrating in a sense, because I understood your concept.
Help Cats Protection find loving homes for more cats like Alfie.
Hello, you absolute legend. This is Diego, and Diego is a genius. In early May of 2025, Diego changed the fake speedrun landscape forever, for he had a plan that was as creative and mischievous as it was foolproof. First, he would host a Donkey Kong Country 2 speedrunning tournament, where the winner would take all, a grand prize of $100. However, Diego wouldn't be putting the money up himself. Instead, he would set a donation goal for his viewers to crowdfund the prize. This wouldn't take long, and with the money raised, the tournament was officially scheduled for 1 week later. The tournament consisted of a handful of small YouTubers, mostly Let's Players. These were not Donkey Kong 2 speedrunners, and this was certainly not supposed to be a serious competition. But the tournament itself was all a ruse. And this is where Diego's plan becomes brilliant. For you see, Diego never actually intended to legitimately compete in the tournament. Instead, he secretly crafted a fake speedrun. And when the tournament began, instead of playing the game like everyone else, he just started a video of his fake speedrun and pretended to play. For the next hour, Diego pretended to play out of his mind. I have never seen such incredible fake. speedrun acting ability. The acting is so amazing that even now I still need to remind myself that he is not actually playing when I watch this footage. Diego's fake speedrun was too fast for the other competitors to contend with, and he won the tournament with ease, taking home, or rather should I say, keeping home, the $100 his viewers had raised. The plan really should have gone off without a hitch. Diego had planned everything meticulously, accounting for every possible contingency. But right at the very final moment of the speedrun, Diego got complacent. After delivering the killing blow to the game's final boss, Diego threw down his controller and celebrated in excitement. And then his character jumped. Oh no. Diego had forgotten how the run ended and threw down his controller too early, well before his character had stopped moving. This was immediately spotted by viewers, and then all hell broke loose. Diego was adamant, however, that he did not cheat. Instead, the illusion you saw was merely the result of delay. He said the game feed on screen was lagging several seconds behind his webcam footage. Could this really be possible? Is this really the reason the character jumped so late after Diego put his controller down? No, it's not possible, and no, it wasn't. But Diego still kept the money. He banned everyone who accused him of cheating and continues to deny it to this very day. Today we will take a look at one of the craziest fake speedrun fails I have ever seen. I really hope you enjoy. Legends, I'm going to be honest. A few months ago, I was very down in the dumps. So I stopped working out, I stopped eating healthy, and as a result, I started getting very weak and feeling like crap. But a few weeks ago, I snapped out of it, I started hitting the gym again, I cut out junk food, and now I feel so much better. And today's sponsor, Magic Spoon, has been a huge part of my new lifestyle. Magic Spoon offers high-protein cereals and snacks that are perfect for people like me who are carb-conscious, who want to lose weight, build muscle, and be healthier in general. I can fit Magic Spoon easily into my lifestyle because of its macros. One serving contains at least 13 grams of protein, 4 grams of net carbs, and no sugar. Magic Spoon also offers treats which are really tasty. And now Magic Spoon even offers granola, which is again not only high in protein, but is absolutely delicious. If you want to look and feel better, definitely give Magic Spoon a try, and they are so confident they offer a 100% money-back guarantee if you are not happy. So just click the link in the description or use the QR code on screen to get $5 off your order today. Or simply go to magicspoon.com/legend and use code LEGEND for $5 off your order. You can also
also lives over.